Well, from teachers to students in our first interview today. You know, it's not every day I get to say welcome to somebody who is heading for NASA in a few weeks' time, not least of all when that somebody is still a teenager in high school. But that is exactly what is happening today. We welcome to studio a representative of a South African team heading to the Kennedy Space Center this July to take part in something called the International Space Settlement Design Competition. Her name is Zayaan Abdurrahman. She's a grade 11 learner at Mondale High School, and she's one of the 8 bright stars chosen to participate. Delighted to have her with us in studio, along with Team South Africa organizer Jagger Cooper DeBell. To both of you, thank you so much for coming into studio and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
I'm going to get to you and your story in a minute, Zayaan. If I may just start, Jagger, with a couple of introductory questions for those who've never heard of this competition, which I think is probably going to be a large percentage of those listening today. What's it all about?
Yeah, so the South African Space Design Competition is what we like to call a multidisciplinary engineering competition. Okay. And what that means is we get high schoolers from across South Africa, anyone can enter, and we put them into a fictional aerospace company. Mm-hmm. So they need to work together and respond to a technical design brief to design a space settlement. So that is a base on the moon or Mars, and they need to work together and elect a leader and department heads and then pitch their designs to a panel of judges. Yep. And these are judges who are engineers from industry or professors from academia, such as a UCT professor, for example, which we had in our judging panel at our most recent event. And they need to work together to pitch this proposal against other students in aerospace companies to try and win.
Okay, and it's the winning that has got them the tickets to Florida, to the Kennedy Space Center. But before we get to the details of that, what's the purpose of the competition? Is it simply about inspiring creativity in STEM fields and getting students to think really far outside the box and far off the planet in this case, or is there more to it than that?
So I'm really glad you asked. I discovered the competition in the UK, right? And I was fortunate enough to travel there for the end of my school career, and it inspired me to believe that I can do hard things and to work on really difficult things. And when I was successful enough to be selected for the international competition and go to NASA myself as a competitor, I saw that there were no other South Africans in the room with me. And if I hadn't been fortunate enough to go to overseas, that opportunity wouldn't have existed here for students. And that's why I started this at ASDC. And I believe that the exposure to STEM, or like I like to call it STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts and maths, because the arts are incredibly important. We can have these technical designs, but if we can't present them well, then no one will understand them.
Thank you from the arts graduate room.
And I really believe that exposing students to these challenges gives them that headroom to grow and gives them that room to believe that this is incredibly difficult. I didn't think I could do it, but I made it. And it inspires them to go on to tertiary education and more in their careers and to work really hard.
You've actually just sort of preempted a conversation we're going to have at 2:00 about building self-esteem. And you said something so important there. Doing something hard and succeeding at it and finding that you have the capacity to do that is such a huge thing to give a child the opportunity to do, rather than to protect them from potential failure, to allow them to try and, yes, sometimes to fail, and hey, sometimes to learn I can actually succeed. Now, speaking of success, let's bring in one of the 8 South African students who is off to Kennedy Space Center. As I said, Zayaan Abdurrahman from Mondale High School, a grade 11 learner. Zayaan, well, congratulations on being part of the team. How did you get involved in this in the first place?
So, the way that we came to meet the ZASDC program was actually through my physics teacher. Yeah. She told the class one day, if there's anyone interested in joining the program, then you can just give your names to her and then she'll sign up for us. So she chose 12 children from the A and B class, and then we got the opportunity to go to UCT during the school holidays to compete in this competition. And we were separated into our school was separated into different departments in our team. So most of our school's learners were a part of the structures team. Yeah. And from then we just work off the requests that they gave us and with the rest of the members of our team, and it was just an amazing experience. And to work with people we don't know, people we know, and all coming together to create like something that, you know. Yeah, and when we found out that we won, we were like overwhelmed with the joy, and everyone was so proud of us because we would have thought that learners from Mitchell's Plain could win a competition like this big and get an opportunity like this.
I mean, it's congratulations. It has got to be said again because it is a huge achievement. Tell us about what you created that set your entry apart from everybody else so much.
So when the judges were going over our things, they like that we stick to the design, to the request that the design request form gave us, and I think it's like quite an important factor in designing our settlement that we had to design, because if you don't have the necessary requirements for what is needed for like people to go up there and live the way they want to and also enjoy their time while being there, then what are you really building?
That's such an interesting insight, because so often, I mean, we're talking here about building a settlement on Mars or in space or on the moon or wherever it may be. So much of the focus is on what does it take to sustain human life in an environment which is fundamentally hostile to human life. I love what you've just said about that. Life's got to be enjoyable for the people who are there, or nobody will want to go. So what were some of the elements that you built into your design with that in mind?
So we built a few recreational centers within our settlement. We had launching pads, communications, we had research centers where people could go do their research and study up on what like all this is about, and how we could we also took into consideration the fact that people might want to stay there over a long while. And then I think what really took our judges away was the daycare that we built.
Oh, I love it.
They were so shocked about it, and I think it is like
daycare. Jagger, I mean, I see you smiling so broadly. A daycare centre on Mars. Do you think that's ever been submitted before as part of this competition's history?
As far as I've seen, the closest thing was Zero Gravity, Hungry Hippos, but no daycare, no daycare.
I mean, I love it, but in all seriousness, though, I mean, what that shows is really broad out the box thinking, that this is not just about, okay, people need a place to sleep, a place to work, how do they breathe, how do they move around, that this team took, thought really about life is, and this is maybe where the arts component comes in, that life has got to be about more than mere survival, right?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I mean, you can be very technical, but if you don't want to be there, then what's the point?
What's the point, yeah. Just for anybody who's coming into this conversation midway, the two voices you're hearing belong to Jagger Cooper-Dubell, who is the Team South Africa organizer for Zayaan Abdurrahman from Mondale High School, who's one of 8 members of the team heading to the Kennedy Space Center to go and visit NASA this July and take part in the International Space Settlement Design Competition. And as you've just heard Zayaan describing, the preliminary lead up to this was all about being set a task to design a human settlement of some kind far off in space. Now, Jagger, moving from that competition at UCT to getting to NASA. Talk to us about connecting those two. What happens along the way?
So from the over 109 registered students we had at our national finals at UCT, we selected 8 students who form Team ZA, or Team South Africa. And these 8 students are going to AEC's Aerospace Education Competition, which is an American organization who hosts the ISSDC 2026. And, this involves taking out 8 students that we've selected and briefing them and preparing them, getting to work together. You are in a company of 30 students who are from different schools at the national finals. So lots of teams today haven't worked together so closely. Okay. So this is now where we get into the training and the preparing for the competition itself. And then getting them there. So getting 8 students flights, visas, and securing transport to get them overseas. We're very, very grateful to the AEC and ISSDC for the accommodation, and food once we're out there is all covered by being selected for this opportunity.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yes.
Okay, so accommodation and food is all sorted once you're there. It's still not an easy thing to get there. Let's talk logistics and funding for that, Jagger, because flights are expensive, visas are expensive.
Yes.
Even getting a visa appointment is a difficult thing.
It's a difficult thing. It has been a challenge, and that involves really working really closely with the families that are with us, and we're grateful to any support we can get. So we crowdfunded a lot of the resources for our national finals competition, and we're continuing to do so for our transport to the USA. So if you go to zasdc.org, you can find our GoFundMe page, where we are accepting donations for anyone who believes in the story and getting students like Zayaan to NASA and to this opportunity. We're also very grateful to our partners at NYDA, the National Youth Development Agency, and Videx Global, who were partners for our national finals and continue work with us.
Fantastic.
closely. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you to anybody who's making a contribution to make this possible. Zayaan, will it be your first time overseas?
Yes, it will actually. My first time on a plane.
Your first time on a plane?
Yes.
What are you most excited about?
I'm excited about getting to see new things like out of this country and what I get to, like the people I get to meet and how different they are, like compared to the people that I live in with my everyday life, and
Yeah. I mean, what went through your mind when you heard you'd been selected for Team South Africa and that you were going to NASA?
I was extremely shocked, actually. I had no idea that I was going to be one of the 8 lucky learners to get chosen and to go to NASA, and I was like extremely excited over it. I was so happy, and I'm just very glad that I'm one of those learners that get an opportunity to go overseas.
What do you think it is about you that the judges chose that made your work stand out? Obviously the daycare's been an aspect, but your skills, your way of thinking, what do you think made you stand out?
So during the competition I was actually the head of structures.
Okay.
So I had to talk to everyone basically and like communicate openly with everyone to get their opinions on different things when it came to the buildings and everything. So I think it was mostly the networking that put my name on the list or whatever.
Yeah. But it sounds like obviously they're demonstrating leadership skills, communication skills. I mean, we're talking here about not just scientific expertise, we're talking about a whole suite of different abilities that you've clearly shown. You're still in grade 11, you probably are starting to think about where to after school and what next. What is your current thinking and planning, or what are you hoping to do after school?
I'm actually hoping to study biomedical engineering or aerospace engineering at UCT because I fell in love with the university the first time I was there for with the competition.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is the university I want to go to. Like, this is where I want to see myself in a few years' time. Okay.
And the fact that you're including aerospace engineering specifically, do you think that's been influenced by this competition?
Yes, it is actually. I never thought of it since before the competition.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it plays a major role on my future choices in what I want to study and become.
I mean, Jagger, that's also such an important thing Zayaan said. You can't imagine yourself and aspire to be something you've never heard of or knew existed as a possibility. I'm sort of thinking here, I don't think I'd ever heard of aerospace engineering when I was in grade 11. Look, science was not, shall we say, my strong point. So it was never going to be an option for me. But this speaks to what you said earlier. You had the opportunity to go. You looked around you and realized there are no other South Africans in this room with me. How do I change that picture? Exactly. Do you want to talk to us a little bit more about that sort of the aspirational aspect of this competition?
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, the beginning of that spark, like Zayaan mentions, thinking about aerospace in the first place. They were tasked with designing Alaskol, which is a city on the moon, right? And the moon's a very different environment to what we experience now day to day. And the types of thinking and reorienting yourself for that is incredibly challenging, but also something very different. Having to think in the way, if I was living on the moon, how would I do that? What would that look like? You're placing yourself in a completely different frame of reference. And the same was true for me. So aerospace was something I'd heard of, but not properly considered until I directly got to engage with it at my first competition. And it's the beauty of going overseas and abroad and going to internationals through that and meeting people who were maybe someone wanted to study English at Cambridge, that was their dream, but they were there at this competition, and meeting with these different people from all over the world with these different dreams was eye-opening. Oh, this person can do this. Oh, I met someone who published a book at 16, and she wrote a book about it was a non-fiction book and about her experience and research she had done. Research at 16, that was something I'd never heard of. So opening my eyes to these things that are just incredible, and you often get, as a young person engaging with things at this high level, oh wow, you're so young and you're doing this, and I think we're a lot more capable than it's made out to be. And it's when we engage with these things and we see these challenges and we take them on that we realize, oh, we are also capable. Yeah.
If I may, I was just in Normandy last Friday at the D-Day landing sites, and this is going to be a bit of a sort of an offbeat comment, but somebody standing next to me looking at those rows upon rows of graves at the American cemetery made a sort of a throwaway comment about, can you imagine if the world was at war now, what this generation would do? They would, the implication being this generation isn't capable of the kind of courage and inventiveness, and wouldn't have stood up and answered the call as these rows and rows of young men had done. And I wish they could hear this interview and look Zayaan in the face and say that to her today, because what we are doing here is talking about imagining what is possible and about broadening horizons and about being willing to try and being willing sometimes to fail, but to find the courage to stand up and try again. Zayaan, I mean, it takes a lot of courage for somebody to say, I've never been on a plane before, I've never left the country before, this is a field I'd never heard of before I entered this competition. You're going to be far from home in a different country on the other side of the world. It takes a lot of courage. Is that, are you proud of the sort of personal attributes that this experience is bringing out in yourself?
I am actually very proud of myself. It's actually crazy that I get to experience something like this. I'm like so overjoyed with how far I've come so far. I never thought that when I was younger, I never thought that I would be going overseas and like getting an experience like this. So I'm just extremely happy that I get to be even being here today on the radio. And yes,
I'm glad that counts as a positive. Gillian writing in to say what a wonderful achievement. She wants to know, were you in any way influenced by sci-fi programs like Star Trek and Star Wars?
I've never watched Star Trek or Star Wars.
That's a hard no, Gillian. We should have had this conversation yesterday. It was May the 4th be with you. Jagger, I mean, was that an influence on you?
I mean, I'd always described myself as somewhat of a nerd, right? Even now at 19 years old, I'm a nerd. But Star Wars, Star Trek, that was an inspiration for me, and it triggered my interest in STEM in many ways.
Yep.
But my actual interest in aerospace didn't come from there, because it's fantastical and it helps inspire. But then when you take that and need to take it into actual academic work and real work, I found that it's people that make the difference, and like-minded people that you want to work with, and believing in each other.
Nerds rule the world. There are lots of us around, so it's a good tribe to be part of, is what I can say. Well, look, first thing to say is we're so grateful to both of you for coming in and giving us time today, particularly when I know you are in the middle of important visa conversations and final fundraising, etc. And I really hope that all the ducks fall into a row, and everything comes together to make it possible for every last member of the team to go. Zayaan is, of course, one of 8 South African students who are going, and we wish all of them the very, very best. And maybe we can organise a phone call to NASA if time differences will make that possible, or at least a chat after you're back, Zayaan, to tell us more about the experience of being over there. But we hope it is going to be everything you're dreaming of and more. Good luck, and congratulations on being chosen to represent South Africa.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jagger, for joining us. And I want to say also thanks to that physics teacher at Mondale High School who planted the seed and set this thing in motion. And look where it has got them. Lots of people simply wishing you all the best, saying they're proud of you. Congratulations to you and all the team members.
Thank you.
And have an amazing trip to NASA in July. And I look forward to touching base with you on Earth after that. Okay.
Thank you so much. Shout out to all the teachers who are incredible.
That's a huge role in this, and thank you so much. You've been listening to Zayaan Abdurrahman from Mondale High School, as well as Team South Africa organiser Jagger Cooper Dubell. All the best to them as they jet off to the Kennedy Space Centre in July for the International Space Settlement Design Competition.